Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ariel Helwani Show!
Back in here live on this Monday, March 3rd, 2026. Hello again, everyone. I sure hope you're doing well. It is so great to be here on a lovely Monday afternoon in New York City. And you know, I was thinking about just 7 days ago, here I am sitting in this familiar spot, this chair, this mic, this desk, this computer, you know the drill. And we're sort of a little bit down, we're a little bit out of it, we're a little bit sad. UFC London didn't feel all that exciting. We're lamenting the state of things. And then all of a sudden, some 7 days later, we get an all-time day. Saturday was an all-time day. Saturday is the kind of day that you are reminded after watching 12 straight hours of fighting. If you watched it all, and I sure as heck did, you are reminded why you love this damn sport so much, why you love combat sports so much, because there was a little bit of this and there was a little bit of that, and we will get into all of that, why you love the fighters, why you have devoted your life to talking about this, why you've been doing this particular show since 2009, why you still get excited about the stories and the fights and the matchups and the personalities. Saturday was amazing. Saturday was incredible. Saturday was a breath of fresh air. Saturday was like spring has sprung. Saturday was breathtaking. It started mid-afternoon here in the United States with Moses Itauma, the 21-year-old phenom fighting in just his 14th pro fight. This guy has blown through everyone, usually winning in the first round or second round. This time it took a few more rounds, but it was against a guy who had never been stopped before, a guy who only had 2 losses on his pro record, both Anthony Joshua and Dillian Whyte. That's Jermaine Franklin, Co-op Live, Manchester. And what does Moses Itauma do? King Moses, what does he do? He annihilates him. He obliterates him. He lands a beautiful uppercut. It was unbelievable to watch. This kid is on a freaking run. Look at that uppercut. Holy smokes. Was watching that with my son Walter. He said, that's aura. That right there is aura. Taking the bow after knocking out Jermaine Franklin, that's Moses Itauma. And so it starts with that. And then we roll right into the UFC in Seattle, which was an all-time event. And we're going to get, really deep into that in a moment. But what a great card. And for the first time since 2022, a 6-fight main card ended with finish after finish after finish after finish after finish after finish, 6 straight. And there were much more than that. But we haven't had that in almost 4 years, 150 events. That's how special it was. There you have it. First event to feature 6 finishes on the main card since Fight Night Santos versus Hill, August 6, 2022, 150 events ago. It's just the 6th event in modern UFC history to feature 6 finishes on the main card. That's how good it was, and the prelims were just as good. That rolled into a little Sebastian Fundora against Keith Thurman. Now, that was probably the weakest event of the bunch, but I love watching Sebastian Fundora. I love seeing him turn into the clinical finisher, destroyer that he has become, really using his length, his height, his reach to his advantage. Thurman wasn't really there, and I don't think many people expected him to give Fundora a really tough fight, especially at 154, but Sebastian Fundora is tremendous. And by the way, check out Inside Boxing. It dropped yesterday. They have a full breakdown of Fundora and Itauma's fights and wins. Tremendous stuff there. That rolled into RAF, which was another incredible event. These guys, Chad Bronstein, Izzy Martinez, Eric Bischoff, Hulk Hogan, they have put something together that is very special. I watched that. The crowd in Tampa was very hot. The fights or the matches roll right into each other very quick. Not a lot of fluff, not a lot of filler, not a lot of time wasting. And then you've got, how they built these fight cards, if you want to call them, or match cards, whatever you want to say. I feel like they found the secret sauce. You've got, the Olympians, you've got the All-Americans, you've got the national champions, you've got the guys from overseas. That satisfies the appetite of the hardcore wrestling fan. And then you've got Colby Covington versus Dylan Dennis. And then you've got Arman Tsarukyan versus Giorgio Poulos. You've got the MMA fans tuning in. You've got the BJJ fans tuning in. You've got the wrestling fans tuning in. You got the UFC fans tuning in. And in the end, Colby Covington defeats Dylan Dennis. And in the end, Arman Tsarukyan defeats Giorgio Poulos. And it was great theater. And they're rolling. They are rolling. They've got another event in April. They've got the May event that we talked about last week with Gable Steveson. It's a nice little counter. And I can tell you over on Uncrowned, the traffic, whenever there's an RAF, kills it. They were number one. Of all the events on Saturday, they were number one. And then the fifth event was a nice little PFL card. Can we give them their props? Can we give them their flowers? I know it's not the coolest thing to do, but we have to do that. Those last two fights on the PFL card, and there were some nice finishes early on, but I mean, Dalton Rasta got a massive pop in Pittsburgh. Small arena, no doubt about it, but was clearly the most popular guy on the card. Local boy going up against Impa Kasangane, firefight, ends quick, ends in a vicious fashion, and Impa gets the victory. Tough blow for Dalton, who I think has all the makings of being a star. Like, he's the kind of guy that they can really get behind, but that's two tough losses back to back for Dalton Rasta. And then in the main event, Johnny Eblen does what he does best. He went in there and just absolutely steamrolled Brian Battle in Brian Battle's debut, and now we're going to get one of the more interesting PFL title fights that they could put on this year. That's going to be obviously Costello Vanstinas versus Johnny Eblen 2 for the middleweight title. That's a great fight. That's the fight that I thought should have happened right away, but in the end, the rolling of the dice works out. Costello gets a great win at home against Fabian. Eblen comes back, gets a tremendous win over Brian Battle. I mean, left it like there was no question afterwards. Like, he just completely annihilated him, finishes him in the first round, gets the RNC, and is next. I thought there was a chance maybe if Dalton would have won, they would have looked for fresh. No, it's Eblen. There's no doubt about it. And now you've got a big fight. So it just went back to back to back to back. 5 great events. Loved all of them. Enjoyed them very much. A little something for everyone, from UFC to PFL to RAF to 2 boxing matches. Up-and-comers, future stars, current stars. It was great. It was tremendous. I'm so pleased with how Saturday went, and I can't wait to get into it all. And we've got a tremendous show. The great thing about having great events is that we can have great shows surrounding said events. We have 6 incredible guests on this program. At 2 o'clock, Arman Tsarukyan, one of your favorites, one of my favorites, Air Arman, as I called him on Saturday, the uncrowned king of the UFC, who's gone on an incredible side quest run. He's added another notch to his belt. He will join us at 2 o'clock to talk about the end of the rivalry with Giorgio and what is next. Is it a grappling match against Dylan Dennis? Is it something else? Is it finally an MMA fight? We'll talk to Arman Tsarukyan about that. Maycee Itauma will join us at 2:40 to talk about the big win over Jermaine Franklin, where he goes from here. Love talking to the youngster, Maycee Itauma, now 14-0 at just 21 years old. Hopefully he fights for a belt next or at some point this year. Alexandre Pantoja. Now, I know he didn't compete this past weekend, and I know the flyweight title is set to be defended without him involved in a little less than 2 weeks. But I've been trying to get Pantoja on this show since the Monday after the injury. And every couple of weeks I ask, and every couple of weeks I check in and send a text. Thank you very much to Pahumpa, his head coach. And finally, I got the word that he is ready to speak. So this will be Pantoja's first interview since the freak injury against Joshua Van in December, the final UFC pay-per-view, the final UFC on ESPN pay-per-view in late 2025. This will be his first interview, and obviously he is going to be very interested in what happens on the 11th of April when Joshua Van defends that title against Tatsuro Taira. Good time to talk to him. Can't wait to speak to him. 3:30, we'll be joined by Joe Pyfer, who had the massive win, by far the biggest of his career, against Israel Adesanya on Saturday in Seattle. Huge win. There's a lot to get into with Joe Pyfer. We'll get into all of that and more at 3:30, 4 o'clock. Michael Chiesa, the pride of the state of Washington, had the storybook ending, I think 63-second win over Nico Price. Gets to put the gloves in the middle of the cage, gets to hug his wife, gets to hug his mom, gets the great moment with DC on the microphone, gets the video package as well. That is it. He says he is done. He's focusing on the media stuff. We'll talk to the Maverick at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern, and then at 4:30, we'll end the day with King Casey O'Neill, friend of the program, one of our favorites, finally coming back, getting that great win on Saturday, emotional afterwards. She's been through so much. It was so great to see her back in there, especially victorious. Whew, we have a lot to discuss. Look at that. 6 amazing guests, So much to get into with them. Can't wait to get into it all. And it's a bit of a different show here today, my friends. New York Rick is on a well-deserved break. Pete Carroll is on a well-deserved break, although I will tell you, you will hear from Pete this week on Wednesday. Special edition of The Crack on Wednesday. Helwani Show Monday, Tuesday. Crack Wednesday. Nothing from us, barring breaking news Thursday, Friday. Back on Monday of next week with an Uncrowned film, and then other stuff Tuesday, Wednesday, have no fear. But our spring break is kicking off in earnest Wednesday evening after the Crack, and then we'll be back for the watch party for April 11th and the post show and all that stuff. So you'll hear from Pete on Wednesday, but for the next couple of days, it's just myself, GC, Frankie, Andy, and of course Dano back there.
Give me a fucking break.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, Dana, this is it. Are you ready for the big time, GC? Just me and you, baby.
Honestly, it feels like the olden days, the GC and Helwani for that small little stint before Rick came back.
It's true.
I mean, we're already off and flying. We got the plane off the ground. I was a little bit worried about that, but I mean, last I checked, we are streaming. So
yeah, let me check real quick. Yeah, Rick saddled you with all the extra stuff, huh?
Yep. You can just call me New York, Georgia Connor today.
And you are rocking the Logo Athletic, right? Is that the
Logo Athletic throwback? This is authentic '90s Sonic merch. I mean, this was my uniform for the weekend, and it was incredible. Just walking around, you wore Seahawks stuff, Super Bowl champions, obviously. You got a couple, hey, go Hawks, man. You wear Sonic stuff. It was like a slogan for the weekend. People would just be like, Sonics, man, they're coming back. You'd be like, they're fucking coming back. They're like, oh, man, I really hope so. It was like the amount of emotional connection. I had to have said it 60, 70 times over the course of Tuesday to most recently. It was incredible.
So give us the quick breakdown here. And we're going to get a video blog hopefully next week of
gonna be good too.
Of your comings and goings in Seattle with Rick, with Casey. Is there a TST sighting? Who's to check? We're not sure. Yeah, maybe.
TST is in there. Yeah.
Holy
TST
shit! It's like the.
Yeah. What get a sip from my Space Needle mug here. Don't worry. Went to the top of that. By the way, went to the top.
Oh my god. Okay, so you darted out of here. When was it? On Tuesday, right?
Yep. Darted out of here on Tuesday, straight to Newark Airport. Hopped on a jet. Cross-country trip.
Jet, love it.
6 hours, 6:15. And by jet, I mean economy of United flight, where as soon as I sat down, the guy hit full recline mode.
Yes.
I was eating my knees for 6 hours after a full day of work. It was fantastic. We met up with Casey at the airport, get the rental car. It's out to the Muckleshoot. Beautiful rooms. We pass out in the Muckleshoot, everything like that. We get up. We do the Helwani Show. It's a fantastic time. We tour around the casino. Next day, we do Boys in the Back from Muckleshoot Casino and Resort. It was fantastic. We played bingo on Thursday night. Real exciting stuff over at Muckleshoot Bingo. Shout out. Yeah, there we are.
Yeah. Now that right there, that thing. No, that's the bingo. Where's the ketchup? The ketchup machine is the real star of the weekend, if you ask me.
It's very true. We actually don't even have a picture of
Golly.
it. Shout out to the ketchup machine.
Watch the video you posted over, when was it? Like Thursday night, I think.
Thursday night.
Yeah.
The ketchup machine will also be in the vlog, the much anticipated vlog that'll come out. And then we got up on Friday morning, drove into Seattle, took in the sights and sound, record some Fight Feast stuff. I caught the fish at Pike Place.
Oh!
Went to the top of the Space Needle. There we are. And it was just a great time. Then we got up on Saturday, did some more Fight Feast stuff. We ate our way through Seattle. Went to the Mariners game on Friday night, and then it was time for the fights on Saturday.
How great is that stadium?
It's
T-Mobile?
incredible. I was going to say which one. Climate Pledge was also.
Oh, well, that's an arena, but Mariners Stadium. Mariners baseball stadium.
It was beautiful with the
T-Mobile
giant,
Park, right?
Yeah, the giant bridge off in the distance, and it lights up in the T-Mobile color, and beautiful ballpark, beautiful city. Everything
First time, right?
I loved it. First time. Can't wait to go.
1 out of 10.
9.
Wow.
I was walking around on a high. Did a run on Saturday morning down at the water through Pike's Place Market. It was incredible. And then to finish it off.
Oh, yes.
There we are.
TST.
Shout out. TST double fisting with the
coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Look at this guy. That is a great shot. Wow.
Yeah, and then to finish it off with, we also went to Sean Kemp's dispensary.
Oh, wow.
I think we got a picture of that. We did Dick's.
PRJs?
Yeah, we did Dick's. Yeah, actually, shout out to Jacob, a fan, gave us a PRJ before we got some Seattle dogs. Dan, can you show the bingo sig pic? Me and Big EKC living it up. Are we living it up or what, baby? Shout out!
That is amazing.
Yeah, fantastic.
That's at Muckleshoot, right?
That's at Muckleshoot, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we saw the gum wall too. We did everything, man. It was a blur. I didn't sleep much in Seattle.
How many jackets do you have? That's the same one, but you had another one. You had the Seahawks.
Yeah, we had the Seahawks one. I got the Sean Alexander jersey. We went to Glazers. We did that too. Man. We did it all. They say sleepless in Seattle, right?
That's right.
That's what I was. We didn't do much, and then we finished it off with one of the best cards I've seen in a while, and far and away the best card I've ever been into in person. It was one of those ones where I was leaving on a high. It was just like, God, I love this sport.
Yes. So the curse is broken.
Curse is
no
done.
more.
T-shirt curse is still, that's
because you had the Izzy.
But yeah, the GC at event curse. So I think I now have full approval at some point to go to a pay-per-view.
You guys, 100%. You guys did a great post-fight wrap-up. Check that out. It's on the channel. You've got the Space Needle behind you. Tremendous camera work from TST. He's not just an audio guy. I mean, I want to see Frank do video work like that as well, It'd be nice.
Give me a fucking break.
It would be nice.
Shut the fuck up and watch the fights.
It would be nice. It will be nice. We shall get to him too. Top to bottom, did you go from the very beginning of the card?
Nope. No, I am no longer a curtain jerker to
wow.
It's I've done.
You're no Theo Vaughn. You're no Action Bronson.
Look at these guys getting free tickets, sitting on the floor, VIP treatment. They're getting free food.
So from which fight? Which fight?
The Lance Gibson fight is when we got in there.
You saw Lance?
We heard the pop as we were entering. Yeah,
he's the reason why you're there.
I know. I got the shout out the Muckleshoot ticket. This is now just a $68 bill. We can just go cash that whenever we want at Muckleshoot Casino and Resort.
Love it.
This is our Lance Gibson Jr. bet. Yeah, we didn't make it in time. It was
wow.
So you missed it was a
Casey
longer
O'Neill?
walk. I was always missing Casey O'Neill. I was always missing Casey O'Neill. It was a little bit of a longer walk than we thought, and then we had to get tickets. Shout out to Game Time. Got them right before we walked in. It was good shit.
Use the code, what was it? Uncrowned Helwani?
Well, promo code BITB for the Mariners game.
That's right.
Promo code Helwani.
First time user. Shout out. Okay, can we get into this card? So you guys were there.
Yes.
How high up were you, by the way?
Bleeders, baby. We were close to the top row.
Amongst the people.
Amongst the people, man. It was the real diehards up there.
Look, we were going to talk about Israel Adesanya. We're going to talk about Joe Pyfer. I cannot stop thinking about Alexa Grasso and Maycee Barber. I cannot stop thinking about that finish. I cannot stop thinking about that sequence. I cannot stop thinking about Alexa Grasso, the way in which she walked into the arena, into the cage. And then when they were doing the intros, she had this intensity on her face. She had this sort of like, she looked like a robot. She looked emotionless. She looked unflappable. And then that 1-2 and the speed in which she went in there and took Maycee Barber's back. And now the debate is like, was it a knockout? Was it a sub? I think it is up there with one of the greatest finishes in UFC history. And there have been great ones, obviously, for different reasons. I think of McGregor, Aldo. I think of Edson Barbosa, Terry Edom. I think of Anderson Silva's kick. I think of John Jones and Lyoto Machida. I think of Korean Zombie, Yair Rodriguez. Like there have been some great finishes. But to see that 1-2 and to see how quickly she took her back and choked her out, she might have been out already. Like a boa constrictor. That's what it felt like. Like those nature videos, National Geographic, when you see the python just kind of jump out at the freaking gazelle and eat it. I don't know if that could happen, but that's what it looked like. That's what it felt like. And then to see what felt like 10 minutes of Maycee Barber out, motionless, eyes open, staring at Alexa Grasso, it was equally breathtaking, equally mesmerizing, equally terrifying. I've never quite seen a sequence like that. From the 1-2, she's probably out, to her not resting on her laurels, Alexa coming in there, choking her, and then that finishing sequence where it leads to Maycee just, thank God it's not the case, but she looked for a moment to me dead. She looked dead. She looked like she had no life in her. Like in the movies when someone's dead, eyes open, and they just kept it. And I have no beef with the UFC. I know some people are mad about it. Like, I want to see the story. Show me the story. And it all worked out. I want to see the story. Now, can we argue a little bit? I hate when they cut away. I personally hate. I want to see the story. I want to see how this thing unfolds. I want to see what is happening. And they showed us the story. And this is not, this is not tiddlywinks. Like it's a dangerous sport. I'm so tired of people shitting on women's MMA. I'm so tired of people shitting on women's boxing. That is the highest of the high level. And by the way, earlier in the night, you saw tremendous stuff out of Casey O'Neill as well. There's always going to be sequences, stretches, highs and lows where there's not good fights, not enough finishes, all this nonsense. How could you watch that and say women don't belong? How can you watch that and say women's MMA is boring? How can you watch that and say they are not as elite as their men counterparts? I mean, you can make a case right now. People crap on the smaller weight fighters. At 125 pounds, we may have seen two of the greatest finishes in the history of this sport. That one on Saturday, and Demetrius Johnson, what he did with the flying, armbar, the slam into the armbar. Those are two of the greatest finishes in the history of this sport, and they both happened at 125 pounds. Miss me with this lighter weight class nonsense. Miss me with any of this stuff. I was blown away. I keep going back to the video, GC. I keep going back to it because I am just so blown away by the 1-2 and the quickness in which she took her back. And so the question is, first things first, what did it feel like in the arena?
Brother.
Were you seeing her out like that? What tell us what it was like in there.
So, first and foremost, there were so many finishes on the card. This was far and away the biggest pop of the night. When she got that finish, I thought the arena was going to come down. I mean, it was massive, massive pop. And Alexa Grasso, when she made her walkout, obviously she's a former champion. She's a bit of a star in the sport. She was getting the love as opposed to Maycee Barber. So for her to get that finish, that knockout, the crowd went absolutely crazy. From our point of view, it was like that. Like, it was just like you said, it happened so fast, and you're just like, oh my God, especially from Alexa Grasso, who had no knockouts in the UFC prior to this. It was like shocking to see. And then you talk about how she was laid out like that. From our point of view, we could clearly see into the octagon, sort of like, it was almost like the crime scene layout, the way that she was laid out on the mat, just like laying there. And we could just, Jumbotron was kind of showing what the broadcast was showing. And it got to that point where, once everyone had kind of settled down after the knockout, because everyone stands up and everything like that as she's, grabbing the ref's leg and stuff. But once she was laid out and everybody had sort of settled down, the murmurs start happening of like, okay, she's like not getting up. She is still laid out there. Like the nervous energy kind of starts building up a little bit. And obviously Alexa's sitting right there. So once she finally sat up, it was like almost just as big of like a clap and support to see her get up. It was crazy though. I have not heard an arena that loud for a UFC since I was at the Sumadarji Matt Schnell fight back in 2022. It was crazy.
Lost in all of this, by the way, that was a must-win for Alexa Grasso. She had not won since March of 23, since her win over Valentina Shevchenko. It had been essentially a little over 3 years since her last win.
Had been shut out in her last two fights, though.
Yeah.
Two, against Natalia Silva, 30-27, and then against Valentina Shevchenko, 50-45.
Must win against a very tough Maycee Barber. Knowing Maycee's history, the health issues and whatnot, again, that's why when I saw her out there, I was like, what is going on here? We've seen people out, we've seen people asleep, we've seen people convulse, we've seen some scary shit. There's no doubt about it. I don't know if I've ever seen someone out for that long with their eyes wide open, just laid out, like you said, like one of those like chalk outlines. It was, honestly, it's unlike anything that I've ever seen. But the technique that she showed, and then even like the compassion that she showed, just like kneeling in front of her, the whole thing was just like equally why we love this so much and why this sport is so damn scary at times, because it always feels like we're like that close away from a true tragedy. Maycee Barber did post what we just showed you, but she also actually posted a video talking about how she's doing and about what she remembers of the fight. Here's that video.
Well, this is not the post or video that I wanted to be making today, but I wanted to come on here and say thank you to the UFC and thank you to Alexa for the opportunity. I wanted to go out there and get my opportunity to get my rematch and dominate and get the win back, and unfortunately, it was not my night. I got caught. And Alexa did an amazing thing. She is a phenomenal fighter. And I don't really remember a whole lot. All I know is that every time I go on social media, I look like I'm dead. And that's not a very fun thing to see. So I've been trying to stay off of social media, but I also wanted to come on here and at least tell you guys that I am okay. I am very blessed to live the life that I do. As tough as it is, going out there and being able to do that, what I did last night, was still one of the greatest nights of my life. despite all of that, that's still one of the better nights of my life that I've ever had. I've had some pretty tough days, so that was still one of the greatest days of my life, being able to walk out there and being able to do what I've done. So I will be back. I'm going to heal up and put in the work and get back out there. So
Yeah, and she had been on quite the run. She had not lost a fight since her loss to Alexa Grasso in 2021. So a huge win for Grasso. Is it a knockout or a submission? I'm still not sure.
My take is pretty strongly that it was a knockout. She knocked her out, and then she just happened to get on a choke. Like the fight was getting called anyway. Who was it? Was it Beltran was the ref?
Yeah.
He
think
couldn't.
so.
He legit couldn't even get over there fast enough to get Alexa Grasso off her. The way that she got under that chin and locked it up instantly. It was one of the fastest things I've ever seen. I think it's fair to credit it as a knockout. It wasn't like she tapped to it or she was out because of the choke. She was out because of that 1-2.
I kind of go back and forth. I kind of want to give it the knockout and submission of the year. I mean, I want to give her that award right now.
There's a chance she might win both.
Also, photo of the year. Like these photos of her just kneeling in front of her lifeless body is bone chilling. Truly bone chilling stuff. I don't know. I guess she was out. You know, sometimes we see people, out and then they wake up.
I just dropped a picture and we can show it in a second, but it shows the sequence of like she gets hit and then she does like sort of the banana split and she gets hit again, and at that point the ref he's coming to end it, and then like when she's getting choked, like there's nothing going on there. She is not there mentally. She's not trying to fight that. She's not awake for it. It's I wonder, brutal, man.
From Alexa's perspective, it probably felt like she was, when you see someone working with a dummy and the body is obviously lifeless, I'm sure her body was lifeless in that moment. You know what I mean?
1,000%. And one of the scarier parts is how she gets up and like immediately starts going for the takedown on Beltran, and like, which is scary in of itself because she doesn't know where she is or what's going on. But then she kind of like flips back over, and that's when we get the moment where she's laid out and sort of like lights are on, nobody's home type look, staring off into the camera. It was almost just like that. The fact that it happened and then re-happened was what made it especially scary.
There were 5 events on Saturday. Would you say that was the highlight of the day? That was the biggest moment of the day? Like Itauma's uppercut, tremendous. Arman, freaking throwing. Giorgio, tremendous.
All great moments.
Yes.
But Itauma, I expected to get a knockout. Maybe not in such like a highlight reel fashion, but I expected a knockout from him. Alexa Grasso, former champ, back against the wall to pull out a highlight like that in the co-main was unexpected, and it was insane. Beautiful.
And especially, we'll get into this later in the program, but just days after, you see more comments from Khabib about women's MMA, and I know he has his reasons, and part of them are religious and all that stuff. I don't understand how someone of that stature, how someone who is so successful, who is so smart, who is so great at fighting, who is so great when it comes to coaching, how he could feel that way about women's MMA. To me, like, it's 2026. There's nothing that men, I mean, obviously from a physiological standpoint, there are things that women can do that men can't do. I understand that. But in terms of like athletics, we should be celebrating women competing in both, fighting and coaching and doing everything that the men do as far as athletics are concerned. And so to see that performance just days after those comments, I thought was pretty profound as well. And just amazing. If you have not seen the fight, go and find it. It's not that long. How long did it last? It lasted 2:42. Tremendous stuff. Main event was a huge one for Israel Adesanya. He needed to get back on track. He had lost 3 in a row against the best of the best, no doubt. And obviously the Imavov fight was in February of last year. And so here he is against Joe Pyfer, who had not quite broken through just yet, but we all kind of felt like that was inevitable. And, he loses the fight in the second round via TKO. And GC, I don't know what you thought, but I thought he looked pretty good early on. It's kind of my same takeaway from his last fight as well. I don't think Izzy is washed necessarily. He's obviously not a title contender anymore. And at least for the time being, Joe Pyfer looked like a freaking beast out there. He looked gigantic. He looked so strong. and we'll get to the post-fight comments and all that stuff afterwards, but I can't sit here despite the 4-fight losing streak. We have seen 4-fight losing streaks from former champions before, when they don't look like themselves, when they look like shells of their former selves, when they look like they're old, they're slow, they're just not as good. Obviously, Izzy isn't who he once was. I think that's fair to say, but I don't feel like we need to sit here and bang the drum and say this guy's done. I know he doesn't want to be done. I know he says he's not done. I know he says he's not going anywhere. I'm not leaving all this, but like I still think that there is a room for him in this sport, and certainly in the UFC. How do you feel?
Yeah, it's sort of the same story over the course of these last 3 fights. Even the DDP fight, when he was fighting for a title, he looked pretty good until he didn't, until he got finished. He was up 29-28 on one of the judges' scorecards in that fight. Same thing with Imavov. He looks good in the first round, gets finished in the second. Same thing here, looks good in the first round, gets finished in the second. I guess my concern is it feels like he sort of strayed away from the game plan a little bit. Like he was having so much success with those leg kicks. He seemed to be stuffing the takedowns, at least throughout the majority of the first round. And then like it felt like he kind of smelled blood in the water, and Joe Pyfer said as much and like sort of opened up on the aggressiveness. And that's what led to Joe Pyfer landing that massive overhand right that sort of led to the takedown that got him to the finishing sequence. With the Imavov fight as well, gets eye poked, sort of brushes off the ref. That leads to the finishing sequence. I don't want to call him washed either, because he's still successful, but I don't know where he goes from here, and if he's willing to have those fights where he has to stay on his bike for a full 25 minutes, stick and move, throw out the leg kicks, not be that exciting. Like it felt like he was in there to give the fans an exciting fight, which it was, but unfortunately it ended in his demise. I just don't know where he goes from here. The 4 fights in a row, it's tough to try and match him up for the next fight, especially when we just gave him Joe Pyfer, who was the 14th ranked middleweight. I
saw you and Rick talk about this afterwards, and I disagreed with Rick. He's like, I want to see more favorable matchups.
Who?
I felt like Joe Pyfer was a favorable matchup.
I agree.
Like he's not quite there just yet, and I know he threw out MVP, and I dig the MVP matchup. They're friends, and I kind of think that MVP at 170 is better than 185, but ultimately they're friends, and I don't know if we'll see, like, what I definitely don't want from MVP is a friendly sparring match. I don't think that that's good for his career at this